All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. If you need a roof, make sure you call Ireland Contracting.
Everybody needs a roof.
No one better in the business, that's for sure. They're #1 in Pittsburgh, and they're #1 for a reason. 1-800-NEW-ROOF if you need a roof. But if you need anything else outside, inside, whatever construction needs you have, give them a call. Windows, gutters, doors, siding, Gene.
Dog grooming.
Dog grooming.
Right.
They can handle that too, or at least point you in the right direction. Give 100-NEW-ROOF is the number for Pittsburgh's #1 contractor out there, Ireland Contracting. Give us a call right now on the Bordas & Bordas hotline. 412-575-2600 is the number. Before we get to the phone lines, we're going to talk a little bit about the Steelers. You know, I think this is the game, that 4-game stretch I was thinking before last week when you looked at Jacksonville, Denver, Oakland, San Diego. This is the game that I thought was going to give the Steelers the most trouble. Second game on a road, but going to Mile High, a road game, even though they're undefeated on the road, this is the game that kind of scares me.
Well, yeah, you know, the big game in this stretch, Richie, I still think it was Baltimore. I think once you got that game and you really took control of the division back, that gave the Steelers a lot of confidence. You know, and you saw what they did to Carolina. Now, you know, they did not play terribly well for most of the Jacksonville game. I expect they'll play better this week in Denver. I expect them to handle the Broncos. I really do. You
know, the one thing Ben said this morning that they always stress they want to get out to a fast start and start well, but they've done that about one time.
Yeah, they've really
essentially this year
been outscored in the first quarter considerably. At one time it was 49-19. It's more now.
Yeah, and that's the thing that worries me, especially when you go on the road against a team that is 4-6, kind of more balanced than Jacksonville, no question about it. So yeah, I think this is one. I don't want to call it a trap game because I don't really believe in these trap games, but what you got San Diego coming up next week, and I'm sure that's a game that, you know, everyone is looking forward to. And you look at the record, 4-6. Oh, this is a team that we should beat. You go there, and then all of a sudden you're in a dogfight.
We've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, we've seen it. We saw it last week. All right, back out to the phone lines. Let's go out to Mike out in Altoona. What's up, Mike?
Hey, Rich. Hi, Gene.
Hey.
Thanks for calling, Mike.
What a difference tonight made, and I think the main thing was that everybody was engaged in the defensive zone.
Right.
We've had a lot of times where, and I don't like to pick on Malkin, but he doesn't seem to like to play much defense. He does a lot of drive-bys, a lot of drop passes going the other way on man rushes. Tonight it was like a different team. And one other thing I will say is I couldn't believe the two officials were staring when Rucklin, or whatever his name is, got pounded by Richie late, and they both watched it, and they gave him a 2-minute minor. I just can't believe that. What do you think?
Yeah, I never know with these kind of things. I never know what's going to happen, if the guy's going to get suspended or fined afterwards. You know, it's just I am not good at telling or explaining how the NHL operates with these kind of things.
Because the league is not good at it.
Yes,
so
yeah, I know. You never know.
They expect us to do it, to be good at it. But, you know, the caller is right, and it bears repeating the way that the Penguins played defense tonight. You know, they allowed only 10 shots through 2 periods.
Yeah, and that's something I think is focus, and I think is desire, and I think is, hey, we need to start playing. And you get your captain back. There's some motivation there to turn things around.
That's a pretty good offensive team, too.
Yeah. And, I mean, everyone's questioning the Penguins' defense, and you saw that they took a turn for the worse once they lost Justin Schultz, even though he isn't a defensive defenseman, but still you're now down a defenseman.
Right.
And it doesn't help when you have a lot of offensive guys like a Malkin and a Kessel who don't come back to help either.
They play a nice 100-foot game.
Yes, but Sidney Crosby, I mean, is the best 200-foot player in the game. There's no doubt about that. Every coach will tell you that. And you saw it tonight. You looked like he was inspired, too. Didn't it? I mean, he just looked like...
Very glad to be back.
Yeah. So I can't say anything bad about this team. And if this is a team that we see...
You should have been here Monday. We said a lot of bad things about it.
I can imagine. And, you know, if this is a team that we're going to see here the next month or so, you know, I don't see them losing too many games.
Well, let's see what they do Friday.
Yeah, okay. But they got Friday and Saturday.
Right.
They could get on a roll here. You got Boston and you got Columbus. 2 games you need to win, especially because they're Eastern and division teams. All right, back out to the phone lines. And we're going to go out to, let's go out to John in Brighton. What's up, John?
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, thanks for calling, John.
Hey, I want to talk about Fleury and Murray.
Go ahead.
Would love to hear you.
All righty.
Go ahead.
I don't think this is a playoff team without Fleury or Murray.
Well, I mean, they didn't have Fleury last year. Murray is the top goalie, and he's on the bench right now. They're going to play him one of these next two games, Gene. I don't know which game they're going to play him, but right now I thought it was very telling. Gene. Sullivan this morning said, "Hey, we want to win now. DeSmith is our guy. We got to re-engage Matt Murray." What does that mean, re-engage Matt Murray?
That means they've got to get him to play well again.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything other than that. The Penguins have not gotten good goaltending. Fleury is not. I mean, I understand the point, but if the point is there is not a Stanley Cup type goaltender on this team right now, that's true. But there is Matt Murray, who's won 2 of them. So I think what Sullivan is talking about there, he's got to get the old Matt Murray back. However that is accomplished, I guess remains to be seen. But that's an objective, certainly.
Yeah, I think Matt Murray is a good big game goaltender. I wouldn't mind having him in there, but maybe a season-long guy, I don't know. I mean, there's no one really pushing him. Well, now there is, but at the beginning, maybe it's a mental thing, a mental grind through getting through all these games. Yeah. That's something. Fleury was great during the regular season. And if you had a battle between those two, it only made them each other better, I think.
Seemed to.
Now you don't have that.
Right.
So I don't know. But, hey, I wouldn't be surprised at some point if Murray doesn't get his act together, we're going to see Tristan Jarry up here.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, are you confident if it continues to go like this that they're going to go into the postseason with Casey DeSmith as their #1 goalie?
Well, I don't foresee it, but, I mean, I think Matt Murray will get back to the level he's established for himself. But, it might not be right away.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens either Friday or Saturday. I'd imagine he's going to play one of those games. All right, back out to the phone lines. We're going to go out to Pete out in Squirrel Hill. What's up, Pete?
Rich, how you doing tonight?
Good, thanks for calling.
Rich, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
How come in Crosby's career he has never, not one time, been nominated for the Selke Trophy as the top defensive forward in the game? Last year, Andrei Kopitar, 91 points, second MVP balloting, and won the Selke Trophy. Only the 3rd time in the history of the game that a guy scored 90 points in a season and won a Selke Trophy. I was wondering if you're aware of that.
Pete, you come up with some good ones up here. Always negative Pete from Squirrel Hill. I don't know why he hasn't won the Selke Trophy. Every coach that you talk to, when you do interviews with Mike Sullivan toward playoff time, and you interview the opposing coaches, I'm in the locker rooms, I'm covering the games, and they all say Sidney Crosby is the best 200-foot player in the game. You're hearing that from coaches. I don't know why he doesn't win the awards. Maybe because he wins a lot of other things.
Well, I mean, I'm not really sure how NHL awards work. I mean, I know who votes on them and such, but I don't know what they're thinking. Richie touches on something that might very well be the case. People just feel like Sidney Crosby has enough things for his mantle, and they don't necessarily think of him in Selke terms, if you will. But I don't think he's worried about it.
I don't think so either. I mean, I guess anyone can win that award. Nick Bonino. I don't know who wins those awards. I mean, I know Sidney Crosby. Everyone thinks of him as winning the Art Ross and winning the the league MVP, the bigger trophies, but not. I would still take Sidney Crosby over whoever wins a Selke Trophy.
Okay, you're on record for that.
I'm on record. So I got to take a break. Back with more of your phone calls, some of your tweets coming up next. Stay right there.